get going. All right. So I want to thank everybody for being with us here today for our UCM series IP PBX training webinar. Today we are going to mainly focus on new features that have been added within the last couple of months, or within, say, the last 6 months, and some things that are coming up. One thing that I can mention to you today, and somebody already mentioned this in the chat, is today we released a beta firmware for a new version of firmware for our UCM series of IP PBXs. Fareed, who will take you through the technical part of the training webinar after my initial 10-15 minute little introductory presentation. So yeah, that new firmware is available as a beta. If you were with us, I believe it was about a month ago when we held this webinar on this topic, we gave you a preview of that new web user interface design, some of the other things that are in this new beta firmware, which you know, keep an eye out for. It will be released as official firmware probably within the next month or so. Some other major things that have been added there are a variety of great call center features, really customizable call routing, some call queue, and basically call statistics that we didn't offer previously. So you'll be hearing more about that later on. Again, that was released today as a beta firmware. Fareed will give you more details later. So keep an eye out for that, for the official firmware release for that. All right, so today's webinar is brought to you by IP Video Talk. IP Video Talk is our own in-house developed web video audio and meeting room, conferencing platform. Should say that again. It is a video, audio, and web conferencing platform. It's one of the few conferencing platforms on the market that allows you to integrate and to work with, under one plan, both hardware video conferencing devices, web users, any mobile device or tablet or PC, to hold both video conferences, web meetings, or webinars like you see here today. So head on over to ipvideotalk.com to learn more and sign up. You can currently sign up for a free 3-month web meeting subscription, again, for free, to give yourself a little trial of IP Video Talk. So head on over to ipvideotalk.com. And as I'm sure you've heard about in the past, today's webinar is being hosted using this IP Video Talk platform, as many of them recently have them. All right, so as I pull up the screen, I do want to mention, if any of you were with us yesterday for the general UCM training, this introduction is mostly the same. I'm going to go through it faster than I did yesterday, but everything after the introduction is different than what you saw yesterday. We're going to focus mainly on some of the new features and functionalities that we've added, kind of let you know what's there, what's coming, how to use it, what it's best for. So after this little 10-minute introduction, the content of today's webinar will be different than yesterday's if you were with us for that one. So to take you through, I always like to introduce our UCM series by kind of telling you a little bit of a background story about why Grandstream got into video conferencing. We basically saw, like, a lot of the other product solutions that we offer, we saw a huge gap in the marketplace that small to medium-sized businesses were essentially not being served and essentially being ignored by the IP PBX marketplace. These high-end enterprise-grade traditional telephony systems or unified communication systems were extremely complicated, extremely expensive, required licensing fees, entire IT teams to manage it, and really kind of were made ideally for larger businesses with heavy call volume needs. What we have here is we took all of those great high-level enterprise-grade features and functionalities of the UCM series, of those high-end enterprise-grade systems, and we have packaged those in a device that is easy to manage, easy to install, does not require any licensing fees, really ideal for small to medium-sized businesses. So the first series that we came out with was the 6100 series, which has been continued on with the 6200 series recently. These are really geared towards small to medium-sized businesses, give you the ability on most of these devices to support up to 500 users. The 6208 gives you the ability to support up to 800 users. In the 4 years that these devices have been out on the market, they have really grown to become some of the best-selling, most popular on-premise IP PBXs in the world. All of our UCM devices are based on the very popular and very stable Asterisk platform, and we pretty much just build our own web user interface around it. So again, delivering high-quality, enterprise-grade features to small to medium-sized businesses, an affordable, compact, easy-to-manage PBX that does not require any licensing fees. All of our UCM devices give you everything you need to set up, run, and manage your system in the box for the one-time upfront purchase price. We don't hold back any features and make you pay licensing fees for that. Everything we can give you is included in the purchase price. There is no ongoing fees or licensing fees. Every time we release new features like we're going to talk about today, those are always available for free simply as a firmware upgrade. You never have to pay for those. So basically all the hardware and software is included for the lifetime of the product. Just to mention it real quickly, I kind of just touched on this. Our 6200 series is what is currently being manufactured. It was basically the continuation of the 6100. We had to put a different chip in it because the previous chip was no longer being manufactured by the chip maker, and whenever you put in a different chip, you have to give it a different name. So that's why it's the 6200 series, pretty much all of the same features and functionalities of the 6100 series. All of the firmware that is available, all of our UCM firmware will work and will always work on both the 6100 and the 6200 series, which again right there shows you that they're pretty much exactly the same. They're always both going to be fully supported. It's just if you're purchasing a new device at the moment, you're going to be buying a 6200 series. Handful of enhancements that you can see over there on the right-hand side. DHCP servers in all 6200 series models. All 6200 series models support switch, dual network, or router mode, as they include built-in NAT routers. And if you are looking for a little bit of enhancement, maybe you need more than 500 features but not 2,000, or 500 users but not 2,000 offered by our 6510. 6208 has been enhanced to be able to support up to 800 users and 800 concurrent calls. See a screenshot of the web user interface? Well, I guess that's our previous web user interface that we should now go through within, when that firmware I mentioned earlier becomes official. We will go through and update all these presentations with new screenshots, but this is what the user interface has looked like up until this point. The improvement to the interface, I think you're really going to like a lot. Has a real clean, sleek look, even more than that we currently had here. So with all the 61 and 6200 series models, there's a variety of different models. The last number in the model name tells you how many FXO ports. So the 6102, 6202 give you 2 FXO ports, whereas the 6108 or the 6208 will give you 8 FXO ports. Also, the devices vary slightly on concurrent calls, as you see there. All UCM models support gigabit or have gigabit ports with PoE+. PoE is to power the UCM, not to give off power to other devices. Various conference bridges, I believe it's either 3 or 5, depending on the model, with support for 25 or 32 attendees. Zero configuration provisioning, which I'll touch on in a second. All 6200 series models and the 6102 will give you built-in firewalls and built-in NAT routers. So now we walk up mostly to our UCM 6510. This is our more enterprise-grade IP PBX. When I say enterprise-grade, I mean in terms of its capacity. It supports, as you see here, up to 2,000 users or 2,000 endpoints and up to 200 concurrent calls. Also gives you support for E1, T1, or J1 networks. So if you need to support those networks, if you need more than 500 or 800 users or endpoints or extensions, the 6510 is a great option for you. Obviously a little bit more expensive because of the capacity that it offers, but those 2,000 users also really give you a great ability to use this device to handle multiple different locations centrally. And one thing to mention is we are actually, you'll see it, I believe tomorrow, we're going to announce beta test for a high availability device that will work with our UCM 6510 to offer high availability functionality for our UCM 6510. Same web user interface, pretty much all the same features and the same functionalities as the other UCM devices. Anything else that I didn't mention here previously? All of the UCM devices do give you USB and SD card slots. That's for expandable memory, music on hold, etc., saving call recordings, etc. 6510 gives you more conference bridges. I believe it's 5 or 8 conference bridges, each with support for 64 attendees. And as I mentioned, same web user interface based on Asterisk, pretty much all the same features and functionalities. Zero config, if you weren't with us yesterday, zero configuration is maybe the best feature about these UCM devices. Zero configuration allows the UCM to auto-discover and then basically automatically configure, or the term that we have for it is zero config. Any Grandstream endpoints on the same network as the UCM will auto-discover those devices, and then you can zero config them either by providing a general set of rules and extension ranges or allowing the UCM to pretty much make up its own extension ranges and whatnot for each device. It's important to mention that the zero config feature is only supported and only works with Grandstream products, but that does not mean that this device does not support other SIP products. It is a fully open source SIP IP PBX, so it will be fully interoperable with any third-party IP phone or any other SIP endpoint or SIP service. Just the zero config feature is optimized for our own products. Talked about no licensing fees earlier. I always like to show this slide just because it kind of gives you a little bit of a visual idea how much money you could potentially save by the fact that we give you everything in the box up front with no extra fees. We don't charge you for features. We don't charge you to add features in the future. When we come out with firmware upgrades, you pay the one-time upfront purchase price, and that's it. Competitor A here is a very well-known IP PBX manufacturer. They really do make great stuff, but as you can see, you're basically, like with a lot of manufacturers, you're buying a box that you are then going to pay for each feature or to customize it with the features you want. Some of the features, like in this case, call recording is a third-party app that you have to figure out how to integrate with your PBX. We include all of that. All right, so I'm going to just switch over to another presentation to give you an intro on what we're going to talk about today, and then Fareed will jump in and take it from there. Bear with me, you're probably seeing my second screen right now. Oh, so we're going to see that. All right, so today you may have heard us talk about over the last couple of months or heard the term UCM application series. That's primarily what we're talking about here today. Some of the major additions and some of the things that make up this are here on the screen. From my side of things, some of the new and the biggest integrations and some of the stuff you're going to be finding out and learning about here today from Fareed are things like we now support integration with customer relationship management platforms, CRM platforms, Salesforce, and Sugar CRM. We support integration with property management software, property management services. The ones that we support at the moment are H Mobile and Mitel. Property management services are very popular in the hotel and the restaurant industry, and you can now integrate those platforms with our UCM, so you can use your UCM anchored solution to access and feed information from a property management system or a CRM. We also, in the upcoming firmware, are adding a lot of different call center features. The ability to really customize call routing, more advanced call queue options, more call statistics, call queue statistics, for example. So these are just some of the things that we've added recently. I'm going to, at this point in time, turn it over to Fareed, who will take you through the rest of the webinar and kind of tell you about these new features, how to take advantage of them. And I believe we will wrap up with a little bit of a live demonstration of the new web user interface that is currently available in the beta firmware. So bear with us here for a second. I will turn it over to Fareed, who will take you through the rest of the webinar.
Thank you, Phil, and thank you everyone for joining us today to this webinar. Let me just go ahead and log into one of the UCMs we have here with the new, sorry, let me just duplicate the screens here. So I'm going to log into one of the UCMs with with the new web interface. So that's going to be firmware 1.0.14.18. Once again, this is not yet in the beta club, so it's still an internal firmware, but we're just going to introduce the new features.
Actually, I don't think it's going to the beta club. I'm pretty sure right from beta it's going right to official.
All right. So are you saying it's on the website?
Beta? It is. I believe it is available for download as a beta firmware from our website right now.
We can check right now. I've been away the last couple of days. I'm not aware of that. We can just double check right now.
It kind of came up.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, they just put it there. It's right there ready for... Yep, so you can download it, and this is what you get as the web interface. So basically, if you are used to the Grandstream old UCM interface, so this is going to be easy. You can just navigate around pretty easily. Everything remains the same, except that, as you can see, we have moved some features like the zero config used to be up here by itself. Now it's within the value added features, and most of the parameters remain the same. It's just it's a different web design, different web interface. So the system status show you the config partition, data partition. We didn't have this in the past in the system status page. USB, SD card, and then even the CPU and memory usage are shown in the status page. And then you've got the PBX status. You've got the active calls, extensions, conference rooms, and trunks. So it shows you the trunks, the status of the different trunks here in the lower right corner. And then the hard interfaces, the actual ports on the UCM, USB, SD card, LAN interface, LAN and WAN, and then FXO, FXS. So the rest remains the same. So this is not an actual UCM training. So it's just I'm just going to be pointing out the new UCM features that are introduced in this firmware. So basically, let me start with my favorite feature, which is the presence. So now, if you go to the extensions, as you can see here, on every extension, you will see the presence status. So do not confuse presence with BLF. A lot of people do. Presence is not BLF. BZLAMP field gives you the status of the extension, whether the extension is ringing, whether it's on an active call, whether it's receiving a call right now, whether it's actually in the process of making an outbound call and it's not connected yet. So you have about 3 or 4 BLF statuses that are sent by the UCM or by any basically PBX or SIP server to the client in a form of XML file that tells you exactly at any given time what the monitored extension is doing. Now the presence is just if you use Skype, not necessarily Skype for business, but just the free Skype application that you download from the internet, and you can set yourself as away, do not disturb, I'm busy, I'm swimming, I'm whatever. So you've got some predefined states, presence statuses, but you can there's a custom one that you can customize for yourself. So if I edit here, let's say Dorothy's extension, as you can see, if we go to, I think, Media tab or Features, so that's the present status for Dorothy. Currently, she's available. She's not away. You've got the chat and then the custom presence. So Dorothy can customize her present status to say, for example, working out. Let me just, and by the way, the firmware that I have here is not the one that you have on beta right now. It's a bit older than that. So this should be, the 21 should be better and more stable than this one. I'm still running 14.18, which came out a couple weeks ago. So we just customized this presence status for this extension 1000, and then we can save that, apply changes. So obviously the user, which is Dorothy in this case, she can log into the UCM with her extension number and password for web UI, and she can change the presence status, but she can also do it from her phone. She can just dial the feature code for presence, and then there will be a system, there will be a prompt that says, do you want to set yourself to available, away, unavailable, chat, or custom presence status, which is, she's most likely aware of what that means. The custom presence status is working out for her, okay? It seems like there's someone on the phone on this PBX. So where do we get the feature code to dial to set the phone to one of these presence statuses? We can go to, it used to be internal options, feature codes, but right now they moved it up here. It's under call features, feature codes, right here. So feature codes all the way here, just look for presence. So presence status, so if you want to change the presence status of your phone to display whatever you want, away on chat, or that custom presence status, you just dial *48 from your phone, and the system will prompt you to pick, you know, available, unavailable, away, chat, or presence status. And then anybody can see that on their phones once they configure the phone to get this. You know, they will have a button. Our phones do support that. Let me see if I can get one of the phones. 1.139. Or actually from zero config. Sorry, we can access one of the phones. If we go to zero config, we should be able to get an IP address of one of the phones. So now if I am the other extension there, seems like the password has been changed. Let's pick another phone. Right, anyways, where I was going with this is with the programmable keys, I can just set the button instead of using BLF, I use presence instead, and then I put the extension of the presence that I'm trying to reach. Let me do a last try with this IP. If it doesn't work, then you get what I'm saying. You just program a button to do, instead of doing BLF, but this time you will be doing, here you go. Let's just go to settings, programmable keys, and now if I want to get the status, the presence status of Dorothy's extension, so the programmable button or the VPK, instead of using BLF, you're using presence watcher, and then I will do 1000 or whatever that Dorothy's extension is. That's it. You save MPK settings, and it should on the screen tell you whether she's away or whatever she sets her status to, presence status to. Well, I would like to inform you, and this is great news for a lot of UCM users, is finally the dial by name does not spell the names of the people anymore. So it pulls the recording from the voicemail name. So if extension 1000 is Dorothy still, and Dorothy configures her voicemail box with a voicemail name to Dorothy. So if somebody calls in and presses whatever button to join to reach the company directory, the dial by name, so the system is not going to say, when the person enters DOR for Dorothy, the system is not going to say, are you looking for DORT? It's going to say, are you looking for Dorothy? So I'm sure this is good news for a lot of users that are waiting for this feature. So that's not something we can demo here, but so dial by name, it pulls the names from the voicemail names. It doesn't spell the names anymore. Another great feature on this firmware would be the call queue. So on the call queue, you will see that it introduces a lot of new features. So, well, first of all, let's say this is call queue. This call queue is for sales. So you've got a switchboard for it. So it tells you the extension, the talk time, how many calls were picked up, how many calls were abandoned by this person, by this extension, and the average talk time. And this will be, you will have statistics of the call queue over X period of time, a week or a month. So it actually generates reports for you, for the chairman to use for whatever reason, for managing purposes. So you've got the call queue statistics. This is where you have all the call queue statistics. So start time, and then the end time, the call queue number, and then the agents. And then you choose call distribution by agent, call distribution by the hour, you know, different types of filters you can apply. And I am more than sure that, see, you've got the report information. You can create a report, and then hopefully we will have soon, I haven't checked that 14.21, but hopefully we will have the option to email this report to the chairman of this call queue instead of him logging in or using the CTI application to get into the UCM to look for it. So that would be a great feature. You've got the call queue recordings. If they were recorded, you retrieve them from here. Let's just explore now the different call queue features. So I'm just editing one of the call queues here, 65. I gave it a name, sales. So here you have the destination prompt cycle. So let's say you have you're servicing a company, and then there's a received call on this call queue, and the call queue, you want to say every 60 seconds you record the prompt that says, you know, your call is important to us. All our agents are busy right now assisting other customers. If you would like to opt out of this call queue, or if you don't want to stay online, just press 1, and you will be you will send him to this destination that says or a voicemail, so they can leave a message, and then whoever has access to this voicemail box will call them back. Or actually now the system can call you back. So the destination, let's go to the advanced settings, and here you have the virtual queue, and now the virtual queue is triggered after it can offer the caller after the timeout, whatever timeout you set here for the call queue. So if you notice that if you offer the caller after timeout in seconds to be called back, whatever you put 200 seconds here. So after 200 seconds, you know, you offer the caller to be called back. And or you can make it possible from the beginning. You can just announce it in your IVR to says, you know, at any time you can press 2 to request a callback. So the system will not. So once the next agent is freed up, then if somebody chooses this option, the system will call the caller back instead of taking another call, because it would be unfair for the caller that just pressed 2 to receive a call back. So I encourage you to install the firmware and play around with it and send us your feedback. And obviously we will enhance it in accordance or based on your feedback. And then you've got the position announcement, so you announce the position. And then CTI, so obviously you elect a chairman here, enable agents, log in, log out. So every call queue will have a chairman. And then the CTI, computer telephony integration, this chairman can just look at the PBX. So unfortunately, the computer telephony integration software is not available yet. It's going to be something similar to the GS Affinity that we released for the clients, but this is more a server feature for the UCM. So it will allow a person or an admin or a chairman to log into the UCM using the CTI port, and they can manage and see the status of the agents, the call queues and stuff. They can log in, log out agents. So just stay tuned until we release this great software that we will be given for free, Phil, right? If I'm not mistaken, there's no charge for it.
Oh yeah, absolutely. All firmware all new firmware is always free.
Well, this is a separate app, but we've never tried. We have its equivalent for the phone, but we give it for free. All right, so these are just the old features that will port it from the old firmware. You still have them, and then agents. You can choose static agents. That means they are always in the queue. But the dynamic agents can just dial whatever feature you set to log in and log out of the call queue. So I think that those are the two main features that were introduced in this firmware. We've got some enhanced security, PBX settings. Yeah, so if you create rules, this remain the same. Dynamic defense, fail to ban, login attack defense, this is new, and then the block list. So I believe that's it for the new features. Do you have anything else you spoke about, Phil, besides these and the rest of it is more stuff that you don't enable, like there is some enhancement on the transfer. You can accept or decline, and then the call will come back to you. That's not something you can see here. I forgot what it's called, but if I blind transfer a call to Phil and Phil doesn't accept it for some reason, or it times out, in the past, it was going to Phil's voicemail box, but now you can set it to come back to you. So you've got things like that. But for the most part, these are the most important features that we have in this new firmware.
Do you know if the call center, some of the call center functionalities in this one, or is that in a different one that's coming up?
What features?
Let me bring it up here for a second.
Is that a question from someone?
No, that's for me.
No, the call center is the call queue. But,
oh, okay.
Yeah.
Virtual queue position announcements.
Yeah, that's the call queue. Mm-hmm.
Okay, cool. Call queue statistics, stuff like that. You talked about prisons.
Yeah, so
right.
Prisons and.
Yeah, we talked about the fail to ban. All right, cool. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe now we can switch over to the PowerPoint and just go through some of those things. I know a lot of these were already added or more things to just kind of talk about, but... Yeah,
I see some call progress tone file list here for analog trunks. That's something new. But that's basically it for the stuff that you need to set up on the UCM. It's the two big things. Well, first of all, the enhancements on the dial by name. I know this has been, we've got people asking for this for a couple of years now. Now it was time to implement it, and it's in. So I know that's good news for a lot of people. And then you've got the prisons, which is basically a new subscribe notification dialog, just like BLF, but it gives you the status, present status versus the extension status of the person, and that you've got the call queue, call center enhancement, and some basic features like transfer, the call comes back to you, forgot what we named it. Yeah, so if there are any questions as we go, we can review the PowerPoint for anything we forgot, but that's basically it.
Sure, yeah, no, I think that's a good idea. We can transition over to PowerPoint, and there were some questions that I can go through and read out about the stuff you've talked about so far.
Mm-hmm.
Let's just go back to the beginning. Is there any way to have the presence change automatically based on a schedule?
Not as of now. I don't think so. Oh, actually, my bad. Yeah, it is possible. Let me just edit the extension, and it should be available now. So features you see here. So the away status, you can just say office hours. Go forward. Yeah, it is possible. So you can set it based on a schedule.
Cool.
Mm-hmm.
Cool. Brandon is wondering if multiple admins can be making changes in the web UI at the same time.
Multiple admins, yes, you can do that. So you can create a couple admins, and you can test that yourself. It shouldn't kick you out unless you're trying to use the same username and password, same admin password.
Couple of people talking about the ability to schedule pre-recorded pages to use it as a bell system. I know we've gotten that request in the past, and we're running it up the flagpole, so hopefully we can offer that for you soon. We're just wondering, where do you enter the digit in the call queue to, like, dial 1 to exit the queue? I think that was probably in relation to something you were talking about earlier.
No, I know it might be a little bit confusing, but so I think it should be specified in the manual, but you don't have to enter it, and
Okay.
it's always the same button. So you just need to announce it to the user. Press 2 for to receive a callback number. So that's what it is. It is 2. We don't. I mean, there is no point in changing it. So you just announce it in whatever you record. Press 2 to receive a callback number.
Cool. How do you set up, or where do you set up the feature for a call to go back to the person who transferred the call if a call was not answered?
I'm assuming it's under feature codes. Let's just go that together. Should be under feature codes. Call features, feature codes.
It's a good question that Alex just sent over. Is there a document that explains in detail all of these new features? Over the course of the next couple of weeks, while this firmware moves from beta into the official firmware, basically by the time this firmware is an official version, we will have, we're working on it now, a lot of different documentations, whether it be things that are more technical or just flyers or brochures explaining some of these new features. We will have that all available within the next couple of weeks. I would say probably early to mid-July. As we mentioned earlier, this firmware is available. You can go download it. It is a beta firmware, however, so that is important to note. We have our own internal process of, kind of what qualifies something to move from beta to official. So we're going through that now. You can download this. It's fully functional. Test it out. Play around with it yourself. Kind of get used to it. But it is important to note that at the moment this is a beta firmware. By the time it's official, we will have a lot of different documentation available for it.
I'm trying to find that feature code. It should be something under transfer. Just feel free to answer any other questions as I'm looking for this.
The other, well, I guess pretty much the other one here is another one for you. The question is, does the present status affect the BLF LED or the the icon on the phone?
No, it's a completely separate dialog.
Gotcha. You're right. You mentioned that earlier.
It will display. It's not a LED. It's not an LED that displays green or blinking red or solid red. It's a button that says it says literally like away or whatever the custom.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Makes sense. Okay, once you get to that, I think we can probably just run through the PowerPoint really quickly. I'm sure there's a lot of... I do have it, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Just to cover some of the other things that we didn't... You want me to throw it up there, or do you want to just look through it?
Why don't you run it there?
Okay. We're going to switch back to my computer since I have the presentation handy. And we'll just go through it slide by slide, see if there's anything we missed. Some of these features that are on this presentation. Just waiting for our little remote here to wake up. I don't think we've ever replaced the batteries in that, so I guess it is possible that I can probably share this wirelessly, which I will try to do right now.
Use your computer.
Whoops. See what comes up over there.
Yeah, it's good. Mute your computer.
Bear with me just for a second. All right, now you should be seeing. Bear with us here just for a second. Oh, I know what I did wrong. Bear with me here for just a second. I apologize for a little bit of a delay here. All right, there we go. So as you're working on that, let's run through here and see if there's anything that we did not cover. Again, this kind of sums up some of the changes that have been made over the last couple of months in addition to now. Anything here on extension settings that we didn't cover?
No, that's actually, it's been there for a while.
Okay.
13.14, yeah.
Yeah, anything worthwhile to mention from any of these things?
No, good. You just move on.
Okay.
Should be the list of the...
Binding a phone number to an extension?
Yeah, that's been there for 13.14. Just go to the list on 14.x if you have that.
All right, let me... Call barging privilege. This I'm not sure this is going to cover specifically firmware. This is just a lot of different things that have been that we have been working on.
That's just preventing, so we know that the system, the UCM supports call barging, so I can barge into someone else's call, but from this menu, like extension 5001, you can select which users or can have the, will be able to barge into your calls.
Gotcha.
So if you are 5001, you can just say only these people that you select will be able to barge into your call. And as we speak, I opened the release note. Actually tells you which options are included in the 14.x firmware. So I remember if it was Brandon who asked about restoring blind transfer call to transferer. So that's actually, there is a feature code for it under the PBX SIP settings. So Web UI PBX SIP settings miscellaneous, and then you should see that feature. So everything enable. You have to enable the blind transfer, allow callback to transferer. So that is, let me just see if I...
Yeah, that's a good point, though. There is, for this specific new beta firmware today, there are release notes, if you go to the firmware section of our website, that kind of highlight some of these things.
Yeah, this is just a check button. So these are things that, yeah, so blind transfer, it says literally allow callback to transferer when the blind transfer fails. That means that person doesn't,
Cool. Anything important that we should mention here on seamless transfer? Another new feature added last couple of months.
So we've got the wake up service, for example. UCM supports a wake up service management privilege when creating custom privilege sets. So so to do so, you can just you log into your UCM and then enter the user management. Then you create a new custom privilege and you add wake up service. Before we didn't have it. So to summarize this, on the UCM,
should I switch over to that maybe?
You can just go to firmware.grandstream.com and open the release note of this firmware if you want to make it clear for them. Just open a web. Yeah.
You're seeing my second screen here for a second. Just bear with me.
Firmware, and then open the release note.
Hold on, let me. Gotta share it again. Share screen 1 this time.
So open that.
Hold on, let's wait for it to pop up.
Yeah, but you can have that ready.
Yeah, I just want to show people that the firmware release notes that we're talking about, grandstream.com/support/firmware, and today we're looking at
any UCM. No, not that one. That's the wrong one. You open the official. You need the beta.
Oh yeah, no, you're right. You're right. Beta's over here. First was over there. You're always going to get this little.
Yeah, go to the release note up there. Yeah, so the release note. So scroll down to...
Yeah, what page were you on?
Page 24.
As you can see by the fact with how... actually, this covers
Yeah, this will give you a detail about all the... it's step by step. It's better. You have it next to you. You can go back and forth between your UCM after you upgrade. And it tells you, like, the custom wake-up service that I just mentioned. So what... you can assign it even to general user, which is the extension. You can assign it to the admin, super admin. Before it wasn't like this. So let's scroll a little bit down. Well, actually, before what I was talking about, the transfer is on page 23. So it's very self-explanatory there. It says blind transfer, allow callback to transfer when the blind transfer fails, and that's under restoring. That's under PBX SIP settings.
Cool.
And let's see the other options here that we have. Okay, cleaning files from external storage periodically. So before We know that we can send our recordings to a USB drive or an SD card. Recently, we added.
Sorry,
you are on page 25.
There we go.
Yeah. So that's under UCM Web UI maintenance, system cleanup, reset, and cleaning. So you want to make sure you'll be able to periodically choose the interval, how often you want to clean that USB or whatever drive you have. So it's this interface, system cleanup. So if I go back to my UCM, go back to maintenance. So system cleanup and reset. So you've got all this. So cleaner. You can set clean the CDR, clean file. So just play with it, and it's actually, you can say I want to clean these files that I select here, and then I choose a threshold. So I want to clean this. I want to clean this. I want to clean the faxes, and
no one can see that, right?
Oh yeah.
All right, just want to make sure.
Yeah, sorry.
No, it's okay.
So on your UCM, you can say I want to clean the basic calls and the voicemail files, and then you select the file threshold and file clean time, and then the file interval in days. So every 1 day, every 2 days, and so on. We can put it back now if you want.
No, it's all right. I wanted to, if possible, get back to not just cover the stuff just in this new firmware, which I think we did, but some of the other. That's why I wanted to go through the presentation.
Okay.
It's just to see if it's worth covering some of these other things. Not everything, as we talked about. Probably gonna have to unshare my screen here. Yeah, bear with me just for a second. Now it's working. I think you guys got the meeting.
Yeah, maybe I can take it back.
Well, what are you going to show?
Just the release note, or if you want to go through the.
Well, I would say maybe keep going. Let's finish up with this current firmware. Anything else that you think's worth mentioning on that, and then we'll wrap up with some of the other things that I wanted to talk about, which included things that have been added for a little while, but I just want to cover something like CRM real quickly, property management software real quickly, stuff like that. Once we go through this firmware.
Yeah, so I'll finish this. So presence we already covered, and then call queue autofill. So the fail to ban login attack defense. So in addition to defending against SIP attacks, now fail to ban can now be configured to defend against login attacks. So before we know it's only SIP. Now it includes, you can set the fail to ban for people trying to log into the UCM. But before we know that fail to ban is only for extensions. So if we go back to that UCM, I think you can't see anything different except that it does protect the system for, let's just look for the system here. Security settings and their fail to ban. Maybe we can recognize that, we can tell that it failed to ban. Yeah, so it's just behind the scenes. It doesn't only apply this for SIP registration attempts, but it does only apply it for web login attempts. So there is nothing obvious we can tell from this menu, but we're just letting you know that it does that. Okay. So actually here in local settings, enable login attack defense. Let's see if I can see this on the firmware I have. Yes, sorry, my bad, it's right here. So on the port, it actually specifies the port 8089. My bad. So it is obvious from the menu that it stops attempts on this port 8089. All right, let's see other things. Maximum number of static agents. This is just the number, the maximum number, depending on the model. Max static agents in call queue, you've got 18, 21, 6102 and 6202, and then 27, 36, 60, and 120 for the 6510.
Oh, yeah. Sorry. I forgot. Hold on. They haven't been seeing your screen for the last couple of minutes, which I know exactly. It's because it's complicated.
Oh, you're sharing at the same time? Yeah.
No, I'll explain.
Did you stop sharing?
Because, bear with us here for a second. All right, sorry, we should be back here. Hopefully this video loads. There we go.
Alright, so where was I? So the fail to ban, see.
I guess if you remember what you were covering the last couple of minutes, it might be worth going through.
No, it was basically everything. The only thing I was missing was when I talked about fail to ban is it allows you. So if you go to the fail to ban menu, which is under settings, security settings, fail to ban, now you just log in attack defense, you enable this, and then it applies the fail to ban, which used to be only for registration. Now it's valid for HTTPS attacks. So anything that you put here, maximum retry 5, well, you've got it. You can change it for the web attempt, and then if the person can't get doesn't get the password right, you give them max retry duration 600 seconds, and then you ban them for 600 seconds. That's the default, but of course you can change that. So maximum number of static agents in a call queue. We just give you a chart here. It gives you what's the maximum number. This is some new analog buffer. This is just a new option for the analog lines, for the analog hardware. So it might help if you're having any type of audio issues. You can change it. You've got a drop-down menu. It tells you that the default is 32. Yeah, so that might help with some audio issues on analog lines. So the only thing I forgot actually to mention is the forward whitelist. So on each extension, as you can see here, you have a forward whitelist. So you can just whitelist the ones, the people that can forward to you. Same thing as the seamless transfer and the barging. I can just say Phil is the only person that can spy on my extension, which is what you showed on your PowerPoint. So like I said, basically everything that I spoke about is here in the release note. So you can go back to the release note, and if I missed anything, it should be, we'll give you the detail. Like cleaning files from an external storage, I was talking about it when the video was off. Very simple, you just go to the menu. Right here it's under maintenance, system cleanup reset. And then you just choose which files will be cleaned at, what time of the day. So file clean time, we can put 2 p.m. and then the interval, we put 2 for 2 days, and then every 2 days at 2 p.m. it will perform a clean. And if the clean was done successfully, it will give you some logs here. It will tell you that it cleaned everything. So that's basically it. I didn't miss a lot of things when I was not using the release note. You can always go back to it and find. So like I said, we added the wake up service. It's right here. It used to be only for the super admin. Now you can assign that privilege for even the general user, which is extension. That's it. That's it, Phil. If you want to go back to, if you want to talk about the other features, you can go back to it.
Yeah, let's just go through that real fast. I'm going to have to, once again, switch off here. And then switch back. You can go through these pretty quickly. I think we talked about seamless transfer.
Seamless transfer is different from the active, the new feature that returns the.
Oh,
still loading, yeah.
Yeah, video's still loading. Looks like for those of you at home.
I feel like there's some connection issues today.
Yes,
with Comcast.
I would agree with you on that.
Mm-hmm. So I think the users are already used to these features. They've been there since firmware, I think that 12 or that 13.
Okay.
So active seamless transfer. Seamless transfer is when you transfer something to me now, I can reject it, and I can actually say I can only allow certain people to seamlessly transfer to my extension versus allow anybody. It works exactly just like the barging. That's what that feature is for.
We're working on getting the screen to come back. Try one more thing here.
Keep it on screen one. Why do you have to switch?
Because it's it seems I won't give detail, but it's reacting differently every time.
Yeah.
Anyway, we'll get back to where we were.
Seamless transfer. I just mentioned it. You can allow only certain extensions to. You have to enable it first, and then you can say who can seamlessly transfer to me. Do not disturb based on a time condition. So now you can set your phone to be on do not disturb only on lunchtime. You just pick a specific time there. Hotline. This is on FXS ports. You can use it as a hotline. You pre-configure a number. Then when somebody picks up the handset, it will dial that number automatically. These are the internal. So speed dial. Yeah, I think the new stuff that we have, so there is an outbound routing calls based on a time condition now. We used to have it only for inbound. Now you can say this outbound route 1, which is the analog line, I don't want anybody to make calls after 5 p.m. using this line. So you create an outbound route for it, and then you say 8 to 5, then after 5:01, nobody can make outbound calls through this line. Let's just go to the CRM. Maybe you can talk about it. There is nothing technical about it. So we integrate with Sugar CRM and Salesforce. So all you need to do is install one of these on your local network, and then it will provide you a link, and you paste that link to the phone system, and then it will allow you to gather, to get the leads and the contacts from the CRM, and you'll have the UCM linked to your CRM. For the PMS, same thing. You install whichever you want to use, H Mobile or what's the other one, Mitel.
Mitel, yeah.
And as you can see on the UCM status, you can, well, under room status, first of all, you have to link every single extension to a room number, so it represents a room number. And then when a guest is checked in or checked out from using the PMS software, you will get that. That's going to be reflected on the phone system. So the phone system is, the UCM is notified that this guest, and it will port over the name. So if Phil Bowers checks in, and then I can see he's in room number 300, I can see extension 300, guest name, and even the credit, the deposit that you put at the front desk will be there. And then at the minibar option, let's see if we have.
I think it's coming up. Yeah. I mean, on there it is.
Yeah. So the minibar, basically, you can create a minibar. Let's say it's whatever you put at each room. So you put a bottle of wine, a beer, a snack, chocolate, bag of chips, and then each one of these items will have a code. And then you create credentials for the maid. You can have as many maid. I'm not sure how many maid you support here, the housekeepers. So whenever the maid cleans the rooms and they notice that the bottle of wine is was consumed by the guest, and then they have to dial into the phone system, and they can enter a code for whatever code you give for the wine. And then now, after the maid does this, after the maid has to authenticate it into the system, so it's not anybody that can dial from that room number. So once the authentication is completed, the maid can let the phone system know that at room number 300, Phil has consumed a bottle of wine. So that's going to be sent over to the PMS for billing. So that's how PMS works. And like I said, we support Mitel and H Mobile. I think that's it, Phil.
Okay.
IPv6 is supported, and the rest of it was whatever we spoke about in firmware 14.21, which is beta. So I encourage everyone that like the features to install it in their test environment and play around with it. And your feedback and comments are welcome. Thank you very much.
Cool. All right, let's wrap up here and go through some questions. Thanks, Fareed. What are you going to see? Turn off screen sharing here. You're just going to see a blank screen for the rest of the webinar. Just out of curiosity, I want to see if this. We'll deal with that one. All right. Let me get over to the chat here and see what we got. Going back for a little while. Multiple admin, ring, status. Is there the ability to have more than one super administrator?
It is?
Is there the ability to have more than one super administrator?
No, not as of today.
Does the new firmware allow selective deletion of CDR, for example, clean files from 2016, et cetera, et cetera?
Like cleaning based on time frame?
Yeah, pretty much. I think that's the example that was given.
No, that's not how it works, unfortunately, not based on the time.
Okay. Is there a way of getting a list of who was banned for login? Which somebody follows up and mentions that would be great if you could then blacklist the IP address.
You can certainly. I don't see that it provides logs. I mean, obviously, if you're tracing from maintenance, you can see who was trying to connect for sure. But I don't see I don't see that implemented on this firmware. Maybe we can put in a feature request to enhance it.
Gary's got a good question, probably more feedback than anything. Is there a separate login just to be able to see stats on the call queue?
That's going to be the CTI application.
Gotcha. Mm-hmm. That's what I thought. Cool.
I mean, there is you can customize the access, the web UI access to do certain things only. So you can give a certain user the ability to only check the call queues, but it's better to have an application and then you don't have to give that user web UI access, just that software that will talk to the UCM through port 8888. That's what the port we chose for it, and they will be able to see that call queue information.
Ah, there we go.
We're back.
We're back. I was just fooling around with something on my own. Let me get this straightened out here.
Any other questions?
Wow. I think it's safe to say we're having a little bit of our own bandwidth issues here in our office today, which is the reason for some of these problems. But I just wanted to get that back up and running. Yes, so see if I got any final questions here. Peter is wondering if...
just to answer one of the previous questions,
sure.
In their maintenance operation logs, you can see actually the web UI failures to successful operations and failures. So you can see who's trying to log in and they failed, and then as well as the IP address. I'm not sure. Yeah, it should say the IP address from which they were trying to log in.
I think you probably talked about this a little bit earlier. Peter's asking about different types of users and was curious if you could, for example, have a user that could only add or delete users or only program phones using zero config, so that you have the ability to select basically what the different types of users can do or access.
I'm looking at the custom, let me just tell you what customized privilege you can give to someone. You can give to someone ability to just see the system status, ability to create conferences and schedule conferences, the ability to see the system events, the ability to see the CDR records and the CDR APIs, and the ability to have a wake-up call. So I'm just answering this question, so others will not answer the same question. Can I do this? Can I do that? So this is what you can do. Whatever I just listed, those are the custom the custom privileges that you can have.
That's what we offer at the moment, pretty much.
Yeah. Well, so I was mistaken when I said the call queue. It's not listed in here, so you have to wait for that CTI application to be able to only see the call queue status.
Cool.
There.
All right. If you have any final questions, shoot them over. We'll answer any final questions that come in through the chat over here on your computer. But for everyone else, looks like we're going to wrap up today's webinar. I really appreciate everybody being with us here today. As I mentioned, if you do have any final questions, feel free to type them over to us here through the chat, and we'll get back to you there. But for everyone else, thanks for being with us. As I mentioned earlier, this webinar was fully recorded. The full audio and video recording will be posted on our YouTube page probably tomorrow, so I would check our YouTube page tomorrow. Our YouTube page is Grandstream.com, youtube.com/GrandstreamNetworks. To sign up for any future Grandstream training webinars or to see the schedule for future Grandstream training webinars, at any point in time, you can go to grandstream.com/training center. So yeah, we're going to sign off for video. Any final questions, type them over to us through the chat. And for everyone else, hope you enjoyed today's webinar, got something out of it. Definitely check out the release notes over on our firmware, and keep an eye out for this firmware to move from beta to official. You'll see a lot more promotion of this and some of the other features it offers over the next month or so, especially right when we do announce it as an official firmware. So yeah, thanks everybody for being with us, and have a great day.